the amount of, I don't know how many fast break points it was, but it was a lot, 30 plus. And you couple that with the points in the paint, which I think is 86. And they were getting in there a lot of different ways. But I think, just transition, having urgency to get back, you start there. If you don't get back and you give teams easy baskets in transition, it's going to be tough to do anything after that.
It's embarrassing the way we started it. A lot of it, comes from the preseason. Obviously, the carryover, we didn't really play all 5 of us, and you could tell by the continuity we had out there, and it wasn't right.
What's good, everybody? Welcome back to the All Things Basketball Podcast. I'm your host, Vic Lopez, as always, and for this one, I want to talk about a game that I really couldn't believe how it ended, because I was watching it while I was flipping in between games. Like, if there's a timeout, I'll go and jump and watch another one, and I lost track of this game, obviously in real time, and I look at the ending score and I'm like, what the hell just happened? Because this game was a competitive one and it was within reach. I think I finished around like the early part of the third quarter around there, and I look at the ending score and I'm like, 138 to 118. Clearly this game got out of hand. And so the next day at night, I watched it all the way through just to kind of obviously recap on what I might have forgotten by that point. And look, Raptors start their season off with a big win on the road. The Hawks get embarrassed on their home opener. Like I said, 138 to 118. It was a 20-point real just blowout. Like, it was really, this happened like towards the end of the third quarter. And what I do at the end of these games, like the ones that really interest me, is I go and check out like the Locked On podcast. I go and listen to the pressers, right? Particularly from the coach and like the main star of that team. And so that's exactly what I did. And some of the things I kind of put together on a list of just like the most common things I was hearing was obviously the chemistry needs time for the Hawks, and like I agree with that part. I also heard, Raptors potentially being taken lightly by the Hawks, and look, I'm not letting that one slide, and I'll tell you why in a little bit. So then I hear the refereeing, and that was more so like coming out of Trae Young, where he's like, but it's not about blaming the refs, but in reality, low key he kind of was blaming the refs, and I'm also not gonna let that one slide, and more on that in a little bit. And then there's that classic, it's only one game out of 82, which is also true, but it's still a reason to be a little concerned, in my opinion. So if I'm allowed to overreact to just one game, because I don't tend to overreact to things, you'll find that like if you've seen other pods in the past, that's not really what I do. I kind of wait for things to kind of occur, do some breakdowns as the season goes on, and then I'll give like a stronger opinion of a team. But let's go through just a couple of main points that I just kind of took down on some notes. So to the taking the Raptors lightly argument, that's unacceptable. If you ask me, like, they've done absolutely nothing but make the play-in for like the last 3-4 years and just be a mediocre team. And yes, you could throw in the injuries. That's always going to factor into it. But the fact remains, they have been mediocre for a really long time. Too long, to be honest. And look, man, one of the only things that the Raptors did well last year was score in transition. They were top 4 in fast break points. So, like, if you're the opposing team, your goal is to obviously try to cut down priority number 1 from the opposing team as much as you can, or at least cut it in half if possible when it comes to like transition scoring. And then you're already at an advantage when you're playing the Raptors. Like, if you're just getting back on defense, make or miss, you're pretty much in a pretty damn good spot to compete against a team that, hasn't really been good, right? And obviously, there's some new guys on this team. And like I said, the Hawks obviously have some new blood in there too. So that's going to take some time, some adjusting. But the Hawks were 21st in opponent fast break points. That was one of their weaknesses. This team did not get back on defense last season. And Trae Young mentioned that as well. And so my whole thing with the chemistry thing, it doesn't take like built chemistry to get back on defense. It takes effort, make or miss. And so if you're Quinn Snyder, or if you're the Hawks guys, getting back should be priority number 1 against this team. And yet they allowed 34 fast break points And to the point about the refereeing, I'm looking at it right here. I took some notes down. The Hawks had 37 free throws to Toronto's 29. And in the first quarter, Atlanta had 15 free throws to the Raptors 2. Then you see a third quarter where, the Raptors had 18 free throws to Atlanta's 3. I'm sure that's the part that Trae Young was kind of more focused on. But then in the fourth quarter, Atlanta had 14 free throws to Toronto's 3. So it was like a really up and down kind of free throws over here and no free throws over there and then vice versa, right? But the refereeing aside, of the 138 points that the Hawks allowed, 86 of them were in the paint, which I think was mentioned to be a record by one of the Locked On podcast people, because you can either listen to the postcast, which is the people that do it right after the game, and then there's that one guy that does the Locked On pods. I've seen him pretty often. He's the main guy that does those, and I think that's where I heard that stat being mentioned. So you got this rotation out there with Luke Kennard and Trae Young, which is two guys who can't guard a soul. Okay. Raptors are just loving being able to put either one of those two guys in an action. And by the way, even if you don't put them in an action and one of those guys is the one that's in help, they're going to tag on a roller and they dump it to a roller, that's not someone they're afraid to go at when they catch it in the short roll and Trae Young is right underneath them. It's just an easy finish around them or over them or they get fouled. And so that's why I don't know I just don't believe in the Luke Kennard, Trae Young combination. It's just two absolute zeros defensively that you have to cover ground for. You hear that kind of stuff all the time. You can hide one bad defender. Even that's kind of a tall task. But hiding two is just, that's going to be really complicated. And so I'm wondering, because I'm waiting. One of my favorite role guys on the Hawks is Vit Krejci, right? And I think he's just a flat-out better player on both ends than Luke Kennard. And for some random reason, he didn't even play. And it was a coaching decision. I was making sure he wasn't injured or anything. But yeah, this was a DNP CD. So that part was, very surprising to me. And one of the problems I had the entire time when I was watching these guys is the shot selection. Which is why I was glad when Quinn Snyder mentioned it. He was like, we need to get better shots. And I'm looking at Nickeil Alexander-Walker. This dude wasn't just horrific. He took 15 shots in that game, which was more than everyone else on the Hawks, right? And he didn't even start. So that was surprising. The shots he's taking, I'm scratching my head. If you see them on these clips, he's taking some of these, there's no time left on the clock. He's driving into traffic sometimes. He's taking these contested pull-up threes in transition. There's so much time left on the clock. He's taking these step-back twos. It's just mind-boggling shot attempts. And I'm just dude, you got paid to do what you did for Minnesota. Don't come to Atlanta thinking it's a place for you to just play outside of yourself and try to prove that you're some other type of player, right? Play within the offense, do your job defensively, and just keep it simple, right? I did some digging on his attempts last year, and I did it really quickly, so correct me if I'm wrong, but I think he only took 15 or more shots twice last season. So to see him do this on the season opener was surprising to me. And I love Nickeil Alexander-Walker. When the Hawks got him, I was excited because I was like, okay, here's a guy that knows how to play off the ball. He plays defense. He can catch and shoot. He can put the ball down and get to the rim. All those little things on the side, right? Playing within an offense and being a good defender. Playing away from Trae. I think it's a good match. And so, yeah, that's why I was a little bit disappointed in just the way he started off the season so far. But, there's just no room for a third guy doing that kind of stuff. You already have two guys in Trae and KP who are going to shoot a high volume. These are guys that take and make good and bad shots. So, like I said, a third guy adding on to that pile, it's just too much. You really need to hone in on let's get good shot quality. And, because every once in a while, Trae's going to do some heat check stuff, which, by the way, man, that's just always been part of Trae's game that I've just not been a fan of is this guy, his shot selection is so bad. And he just, it's he's heat checking when he's not even hot. Those are the kind of shots that he'll take sometimes. He'll be absolutely cold. And then he'll just come up in transition and take a half-court shot. And sometimes you'll be like, oh, well, it's the 2-for-1, right? It's the ultimate green light to take a bad shot because you're going to get another one down the floor. But the fact of the matter is, when you do the 2-for-1 thing and you're not defending, you're basically giving the other team a free bucket because you're not really stopping them. And now you just traded one bad shot for one good shot, and then you're probably going to come back and take a bad shot again. So it's like, just take the good shot, right? Value your possession, and then see what you can do later on, like after that. Like sometimes these 2-for-1s, they get a little ridiculous, to be honest. I mean, that's just my opinion, but oftentimes I'm not a fan of those. Now, they have a really tough back-to-back coming up. I mean, they got Orlando tonight at Orlando, and then they host OKC tomorrow. The team that's coming out of like 2 double overtimes. Shea just dropped 55 points. He went on a free throw rampage. I think he had like 25 free throws. So we'll see how the Hawks do that, because allowing 80-something points in the paint to the Raptors versus like some serious paint pressure with from Shea and all the other guys. You know, Chet Holmgren causing problems. Hartenstein with those little floaters in the paint. That's a tough little stretch of 3 games in a row right there. I mean, you know, and they host OKC tomorrow, so, you know, we'll see how that goes. But, you know, they could easily find themselves in an 0-3 early hole if they don't at least clean up Orlando, because I don't know if they're going to beat OKC right now. And so this is not how you want to start the season. Now, obviously, they're in the East. They have plenty of games that they can lose and still hold a solid playoff spot. I don't want to say that I'm like down on the Hawks. I took the over on their over-under win total. So I fully believe this team is capable of just getting it together, figuring things out. But if you are a Hawks fan, this can't be a good feeling for you guys at all. You know, because you come into this season opener against a team that you expect to beat, right? You expect to be better than the Raptors. And by the way, I took the over on the Raptors win total. I'm pretty sure I did again. So, you know, this is also a team that's out there trying to prove a point. So shout out to them for winning on the road, you know, against a team that everyone said won the offseason. So shout out to Darko Rajakovic. Shout out to RJ Barrett and Scotty Barnes and Brandon Ingram, who, by the way, like, I don't know, man. Like, Brandon Ingram, he is this guy that he's so talented. He's so skilled. I don't want to turn this into a Raptors talk, but man, like, I don't like the shot. It's like behind his head. It's such a late release. It's so, I don't know, like he hits the front rim often. That's why he's not a good 3-point shooter. Like, he just can't get that range. And, you know, he just likes a lot of tough shots. But either way, like, Grady Dick was good. Jamal Shed was good. He had a nice dime. Jakob Poeltl was a problem for these guys. So, you know, I am a fan of the Raptors. I really like these guys. So I don't even think Colin Murray-Boyles played. I didn't get to see a whole lot of him in Summer League, but I'm definitely hyped to see what he's going to look like. But thanks for watching this video. This is the All Things Basketball Podcast. I'm your host, Vic Lopez, as always. And I'll catch you guys on the next one.